Hi, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Healers. I'm Lori Crine, and today I have Aelita Leto on as a guest. And hi, Aelita.
Hi, hello,
Good to,
hello everyone.
it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Aelita is a classically trained Feng Shui master, and she started doing this around 1989. And she studied and worked with internationally recognized masters in architecture and interior and exterior design, and also the mantic arts, and of course, Feng Shui. So that's kind of like the basic overview. And I want to know, is there anything else you want to share with people about how you got into this or anything else about your background?
Mhm. Well, thank you, Lori, for having me. Um, if you notice the accent, I am originally from Latvia, born and raised in Riga, in Baltic states, and for the last more than 20 years have been living in the United States now. So, the Latvian lifestyle and connection to land resonates really deeply with the nomadic style, like nomadic lifestyle. And there's a lot of cohesive cross references between Feng Shui, traditional school of thoughts of Feng Shui, and how we in our culture, how we use land, how we connect to the outside, like nature and environment. So I think either you are a European, blonde, blue eye, you always have an opportunity to connect and apply feng shui. So the feng shui really is for anyone who is willing to be open to be in the rhythms with the nature and its cycles of time.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's when I first heard about feng shui, I didn't realize it was so connected to the land. And I thought that it was really more about this. I know it's probably both, but like someone coming into your house and figuring out what room should be what, and where the furniture should go and what direction, and mirrors and things like that. But I never realized the connection to the land as well, and to nature. So that's really fascinating. And I guess this feng shui has been around for a very long time. Yes.
Well, I think as long as there are communities, like people can resonate remembering where they're coming from or conquering the land, the feng shui has been there. I mean,
Mm,
the truth is that either you are aware of feng shui or not, feng shui is still there
right.
because our way of connecting to the environment, of physically experiencing, is the key point why even we talk about feng shui. If there's a home or space with no living people, there's no feng shui because it's a reciprocity between the human chi, earth chi, and time, like heaven chi, right? So
Mm,
think about it, like who else could give you the notion of understanding, how the space feels, unless you're experiencing, unless you, it's not the cats or dogs. It's going to be you and I to enter the space, choose your best seating, my best seating, your best sleeping, my best sleep, the way we feel about it,
mm.
the way we can sometimes get attracted to certain areas, certain lands, certain landscape, certain features. It's not just the little gadgets and trinkets.
So you're saying that there's sort of a combination of the person who's going to be in the space with the sort of energetic feng shui aspects, and the connection with nature. Is this sort of a combination of those two things? Is that what you mean?
Well, when we look, so just think about it, everything is energy,
Yes.
right? Everything is energy. Either it's what we can do with it, is it good or bad? It's our precept. We can do a lot of good things and a lot of bad things if we choose to, right? So in feng shui, when somebody moves in, it has an energetical field. It has an intention. It has a drive. It has capacity. It's embedded. It's your actions. Let's say I'm going to move into your space. You're going to move into my space. they're gonna look completely different, I bet, right? Because you, as a human nature, driving the chi, you're driving the energy, and you surround yourself with the supportive or not so supportive um, kind of environment. So that still is our choice. No matter, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Very interesting. Obviously, I've never had a feng shui experience. You know, I haven't had someone come to my home. I haven't had you or someone else come. I've just heard about it from friends, and I've heard so many amazing things that when you come in and you kind of work with someone and shift around some things and understand kind of where what works for them, and they say like the energy in their lives just has shifted so much, and it's been so powerful. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I've just heard amazing things, and I can't wait to have a session with you myself so that I can experience that same thing.
Well, thank you.
Um, yeah. So when you work with people, like let's say someone calls you, and can you give me an example of, like, do people? I'm sure there's probably a wide variety of things. Can you give me some examples of why people call you? Is it like I bought a new house and I have to figure out what room to be what, or I already have a house and I just need to move the furniture around, or, you know, I just feeling like something in my life has shifted and I need to shift my space, or like, is it all of those? Can you give some examples of, you know, how you work with people in that aspect?
Well, any human being can be in any cultural or religious background, they can still apply feng shui. And as I said before, either you're aware of your environment or not, the feng shui still works. It's still, there's, we live in a physical and metaphysical environment. What feng shui analysis and assessment helps us to achieve is to have more deeper connection with our immediate and immediate surroundings, and also certain patterns that we establish patterns, right? We establish our path. We have something that we learn from our parents, or from our community, from our cultures. So we are almost, we are definitely quite exposed and quite trained in our own patterns. What feng shui helps is to relate a certain areas, correlate to, just to be more profoundly kind of, I don't even know how to put this in words, but it just gives you more direction, more connection to the specific area. And it's not about the thing. And it truly works like how you vision and you see the external, like the macrocosmic environment first. As you know, like being here in Silicon Valley or being in California, you always can ask, you know, why Silicon Valley or why California is so different, or why it's successful. No, why did the all .com companies would kind of start their beginnings in the Bay? And I have a one answer. This is because of the feng shui of the land, because of the map of the ravines of the mountains in the northeast and southwest, and the ocean and the Pacific, and then the bay, and of course the city, the San Francisco and its Golden Gate Bridge. So there's so many elements, natural forms that allowed always to thrive, allowed always to be, have a feel of the abundance. And it's also, it's driven by continuously being in kind of in a vigor and vitality. You see through the rolling fog and the climate, like you can be within 20 minutes, you know, from Los Gatos, and you drive to San Francisco, you can be like day and night. You like almost experiencing the spring, summer into the deep, you know, fall, winter. So all that is the physical environment. It's not always driven by a human beings. It is the bigger nature.
Yeah.
And when we look back to how how do we originally, where do we settle, that's where the concept of feng shui really starts.
Hmm.
It's like
Wow.
what shelter, where you create your shelter based on your microcosm, like based on your physical environment, where you look for maybe a solid mountain or shelter behind you, and open vast space and sunny vast space in front of you, right? So there's certain activities just uh, allow us to make those decisions. And a lot of things are intuitive, but then when you have intuition and then you confirm with some analysis and some data, then becomes very powerful. Um, and maybe to answer your question, who can benefit or who would consult typically? Most of the time, I mean, especially lately with under the circumstances, people who are more observing what's happening in their immediate environment, because of the stuck at home, they they start understanding what is there outside, where are they kind of trapped, what is their space, is this is in alignment with their true selves, is this is inspiring, is it drives their emotion towards the positive and like is it goal driven, or is devastating and stagnating and holding them back, right? So the common client or ideal client, of course, is the ones who are in a search of land, selecting the land and planning to build a brand new home. That's also is the Feng Shui Master dream opportunity to really create a space that is the best it could be in compliance with land, the time, and the human intention, right? To their capacity. But in this not so ideal world, and you know how very challenging the market, the real estate market might be, where the properties are very quickly moving, buying and selling. So the privilege of selecting the best of the best not always is there. And this is where I find working very successfully with people to really identify what is a good place for them based on their personality, based on their opportunities, based on their intent. And that shifts dramatically. For example, in the past 3 months, I've been very successful working with people who being like a house hunting, and especially like looking for their dream home. They want to at least settle in for like next 20 years, and intuitively and also instantly is like I'm looking what is external environment, is there's a nature, isn't there any um, other features like high power um, pylons and influences. I'm looking, observing, what has been done with the land before even we move in, or let's start looking at the floor plans. What are the potential? What's the potential for making changes? As you know, a lot of people also they walk and they buy the home and they say, okay, now we're gonna remodel. Before you really remodel, let's consult with Feng Shui, because sometimes opening up, you might opening up to the wrong side, or sometimes containing more chi and energy, you're benefiting certain area for the abundance and health. So so yeah, there's so many variations, and especially with businesses now as well, when modifying the areas for the success, how to create the environment that is healthy, that is keeps you connected, keeps you, at ease, or whatever the business nature is. For example, with working with real estate agents, those are mostly calling and saying, well, about T-junction, or having problem with the, let's say, home with the staircase exposed. These are like a kind of dismissing their myths about, what is good feng shui, what is bad feng shui. And then again, it's not about good or bad, but it's like what you do with it, how you apply it, how you're turning the focal point and embracing, like, embracing something's beautiful. And most of the time, what I noticed working with land, um, things being neglected. Things are there, but they don't pay attention to it. And I think this the kind of my way is to step into that field and objectively to enhance their nature, their surroundings, and connect to the human chi, to, to the people who live on the property sort of, or want to thrive and want to utilize and feel better. So
Wow. So it's not only it's people's homes, but also businesses, because whenever people are in a space, there's things that we can do to maximize the energies around that space. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you give an example of, or walk us through how you might work with a client?
The very basic is the whoever reach through the website or through networking or let's say they find they're interested or curious about feng shui. I always have a phone kind of discovery call with the client to understand, are we in a good match? Are we, can I provide what they're looking for? And in many ways, starting to talk, they understand that the feng shui is not just interior design, but it's like really, it's a shift. It's a pivot moment of their life, kind of how they observe and see the life situation. And so there's a very basic process like contract signing and deposits and getting on a calendar and schedule. And there's a questionnaire form. They get submitted when I can have a chance to look at the floor plans. And of course, main things do take place, the initial consult, an initial walkthrough, which is primarily focused on, I'm the one who's asking all the questions. I'm the one who also listens a lot, like really what they tell me, because those stories reveal the subconscious problems or subconscious kind of, you know, situations that they might not even want to reveal. So the usually it is in a two parts. Initial part when I gather the information and data and take a compass reading, do the assessment, the the physical assessment, and also using all the like a Google Earth tools. And the second meeting is like when we sit down and really talk of based on an objective viewpoint from the feng shui perspective, and connect there to their land, connect to their homes, and my basic kind of rule number one for me is I'm not there to look for pathology. I look what is good and making it better. That is my mantra. And when there is something that's maybe not so good, which is, you know, it's normal,
Yeah.
then make it neutral. Then make it neutral that I don't have to even focus on it, but take advantage of something that's really is enhancing good. And believe it or not, most of the time, the adjustments are becoming very simple and very doable with no extraordinary purchases or, you know, things like that. Everyone, it's most of the time is like, is minimizing and simplifying things rather than enhancing in more expensive way.
Right. So
Yeah,
working with what people have, and just maybe shifting things around, or maybe, I don't know, maybe changing colors or something like that. But it can,
absolutely.
yeah, going on. So we remodeled our house a couple of years ago, and turned a small house into a bigger house. So if I had you come in, some of the things you might look at, I know I've heard others people say things about certain rooms or sections of the house are related to like money or uh, career. Like, is that not, you're shaking your head like that?
Well, so if I would just use the Western school approach and like, you know, the 9 square or Bagua grid line, that in if every single house would apply the same grid line, then guess what? I know if I know to go for money, I will go to my southeast corner every single time, right? Or if I know if I want to have somebody like I know where my love relationship is, I would just know that I go to southwest. It's just it's okay to have the awareness in such a manner. It's like I would call it is more like first graders learning the 1, 2, 3, and then you use the same numbers when you apply, like working in a high school of geometry and algebra, right? So you're getting completely different analysis and working with the same numbers. So the classical feng shui is about where I do look at your chart. I do look at your capacity based on your Chinese astrology, based on your date and time of birth. And that gives a very, very vast insight about your personality, persona, your capacity, and what you're really going through this particular present moment. For me, it is assessment is like, what is happening with you physically, energetically, and spiritually? Where are you? Are you full in a full capacity or you're depleted? That's kind of, who am I working with? Is your sleep as well? Is you're going through some relationship issues or financial issues? I mean, of course, we assessing those areas. And then there is the feng shui allows us to correlate these aspects to land and the way the house or the way the energy in the house moves or like flows within. There's a certain rules and certain areas that we know we creating more contained and more sleeping environment when we think about the bedrooms, where when we think about where family gathering an open space is more like a yang qu, exposed to the light, maybe a more dramatic indoor outdoor experience, stepping out, stepping in, and taking advantage of the land. So there even we're applying the same tools, but the feng shui never repeats itself like to the client, because if you are you, you are unique. If you're how it's unique to the time and who is that with, like your.
Okay. Okay, good to, yeah, interesting. Again, um, when you get up in the morning, and I know that you've been doing this for a long time and you must really love it. So what is it about doing this work that really brings you the most joy?
Everything. um, I personally love the diversity. Even I have the knowledge that comes from such a traditional Asian practice. Like there is the ritualistic, the compass reading, you follow the rules. But I guess I love the creativity part, the applying, because it's never the same home, it's never the same people, it's always different time frame. There's so many change, like so many variables that make myself I never bored with the aspect of assisting, learning, investigating, expanding with the new tools, with new applications, with the new way of looking or interpreting. Everything is how you correlate. And if that would be as simple as like if all my adjustments would be coming out with the Chinese coins or crystals and flutes and wind chimes, I guess it's that's not feng shui. But when you can have someone, let's say, I had a client a couple years ago from Mid East, and when you walk in their home and you understand their ancestral and they understand their religious aspect, and you understand their patterns and cultural kind of rhythm, and there I am doing let's say a Chinese feng shui, right? But I still create awareness. What is their connection with their land? What is their connection where they're coming from? And enhancing because the element of ancestral chi in Feng Shui is very, very strong. We give a lot of, we dedicate the areas for where you place the your grandparents, for example, image, or where you connect to your lineage, because at some point we gonna become an ancestry as well, right?
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
So nothing is, and this is again, this is like, what patterns do we establishing? What patterns are we correcting that maybe was not suited when we were raised, let's say from our, past experience? And what are we resetting? And I guess the biggest thing is, the biggest goal is, it's like, if something is good, I want to make it better.
Right. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And like, what was your most challenging client? Or maybe you have, maybe they're all, you're all kind of, maybe there isn't one, which is fine.
Um, how I look at it, I trust the universe, or kind of the higher divine. Of course, for an earlier, there was a client that I thought is like, this was a very complex. It was very complex situation, was very complex floor plan. It was very complex and very emotionally difficult situation to kind of to go through. And if I may share, it was several years ago. So it was 6 years ago, and I was asking, kind of universe and divine, is like, am I really can do this? And situation was, the family who they found me on home advisor, or somehow on the web. I had the interview. I come to their home. I didn't have, they filled out the form. I did all my homework, but then I walk in and I learned that their son, who is 2, has a cancer.
Wow.
And there I am. I have my own daughter, the same age, 2 at that time.
Wow.
And I asked, when I stepped out, I asked myself, why? There is a reason why I'm there. Because I guess I had enough experience feeling it and understanding what it means to have a child at that same age. And I also understand there must be a reason, because their concern was that there's something wrong with the house that they've been living in, and they were kind of rejecting the house, and that's probably why their son is sick. And I objectively were stepping into this field to give credit to the home. There was nothing wrong with home. It was really more about a timing and a destiny within the space. We worked for a year and a half on this. I was working for a year and a half on this project. And I felt honored to do that work, even though when they called me a year and a half later, when their son passed, but they had a 5-month-old baby sister.
Wow.
So I kind of look back to the whole situation, and maybe somebody else as a consultant would have come and find all the pathology, which I'm saying, like seeking for pathology, what's wrong with the house. But I'm saying there was nothing wrong with the house. There was something in the people's destiny, was things happening. But I understood, by embracing the house and grounding them in the home, they were able to conceive another child, and they were able to, for the baby brother to meet the baby sister and give that notion. And I think that was my mission.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, it's the Feng Shui is just beyond. I mean, of course, we did the minor rearrangements, and I did my best, based on how to create a better flow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was another aspect way deeper, which
Right.
was looking at the astrology charts, empowering, embodying that there is a baby, there is another child, that this house is good for conception, is good for the mother, it's good for the female chi. And I knew, maybe I knew now even stronger, that I was sent, like divine sent, to have to deliver this information, because I could not envision to come and say something wrong with the house, move out as soon as possible, going through the cancer treatment, putting extra stress to the parents, in addition to all those things.
Right. Wow. That must have been really partially very gratifying to be able to, help them through this situation, but also, difficult to see that, to see a family go through that. So, wow, that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds really powerful, and I really appreciate your sharing this information with us so that people can understand better what feng shui is and how it works and how you work with people. So thank you for sharing all that. Is there anything else you want to share with people before we I want to share your website and all that, but is there anything else you want to talk about?
Maybe just the one thing is that correlates to this particular year, the year of a metal rat.
The year of what?
A metal rat year, this particular year, 2020. Just want to give a quick reminder that this year is about refinement and extreme flexibility
Mm.
and adaptation. Actually, feng shui by definition is adaptation, because we are living in continuous change,
Yes.
internally and externally, and we really have a very little impact to control these bigger cycles, etc. We almost have to kind of go in the flow or adapt as quick as, like a jump on the running train. And when we compare our opportunity to be on this earth, from the time of birth to time of death, it's such a short kind of glimpse of like a star in the sky, right? It's just it's just a moment. And I highly encourage that this particular year, let this be a most flexible, most adaptable moment for each individually looking inwards and self-accepting, self-reflecting, and eliminating or purging anything that does not serve you, and start this decade on a kind of a clean slate, because that's
Mm.
what the year of a rat is about, is a reset, the major reset with the refinement.
Wow. Okay, well, that's encouraging. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are definitely um, would definitely connect and relate to that as far as 2020 goes. And I think it's a great way to approach it and look at it as a reset, because we've all had to really push through some pretty tough stuff this year. So thank you. That's a great way to end. And I also want to point out Aelita's website. I will put it here on the bottom. It's aelitaleto.com. And she's got a blog on her site as well. And there's a bunch of really great things on there about, for example, 10 simple ways to improve your home office with feng shui, which I think is ideal for the times we're going through right now. A lot of people are working from home. And so that is a very helpful article that people can read on the blog. And there's a couple of other ones in there, or actually a lot of other ones in there. Back to school with feng shui and ancestry. And anyway, it's some really fascinating stuff. So I highly encourage people, if they're interested to learn more about this, check out aelitaleto.com and read all that. And that's also how people can get in touch with you, is through your website, to make an appointment or reach out to you or learn
That's
more.
the easiest. Yeah, that's the easiest. And on a monthly basis, I offer, for the people who are interested or heard about me and would like to connect, I offer monthly called Feng Shui Connect, a Zoom event where I share a monthly astrology and Feng Shui kind of either case studies or anything that relates to the Feng Shui. And next one is going to be in October, and we're going to be talking about the gardens and moon gate, which is now coming towards the fall and full moon and moon festival. So it will be all related to Feng Shui and astrology and how to integrate into the winter.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that's also on your website, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, great. Well, thanks again for your time. I appreciate your being here. And yeah, hopefully everybody got some good information here. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lori.